Hey guys, welcome to Mrs. G's Sewing Space. I'm glad you are here with me today. Today we are going to learn how to make another origami bento bag that is made slightly different. So this bag here, it was my tester bag, which is why it's got the funky print, the funky paisley print. It's made out of one strip of fabric. So in my prior video, it was 2 squares, which I showed you how to do. But this one, it's the same bag, but it's just made out of one strip of fabric. So it's basically just 2 seams. You hem it, and then you have 2 seams that you sew. And I'm going to show you how to make this bag, which is simpler, but just as cool as the prior bag. And I'm going to show you how to do that right now. For this particular bag, you want one long strip. So you need to figure out, I'm not going to give you precise measurements. I'll tell you what measurements I use here, but I'm not going to tell you what measurements to use. But the bit larger the measurements, the bigger the bag is going to be. So this is going to be a small bag. So this will be the same size as this bag right here. So I box the corners, and it doesn't look very big, but it holds a lot. So this is going to be the size of my bag, and across the bottom I think it's like 12 inches across. But the measurements that I used for this bag is 9 by 27. So my width was 9 inches. I multiplied it by 3, which gave me 27 in length, and then I added an inch to the width and the length for half-inch seam allowances on each side. So now that I have my fabric cut out, so like I said, this fabric is 10 inches by 28 inches. And now the very first thing I'm going to do is to hem my seam allowances. So for our seam allowances here, you're going to take 1/4 inch and you're going to fold it over like this, and then you're going to fold it over again so that cut edge is folded onto the inside, and then you're going to stitch right across here. Now if you want, you can either willy-nilly go straight to the sewing machine and do that, or take your time and go to the ironing board and fold it over and press, and then fold it over and press. That way everything keeps its shape, keeps the seams, and it'll be easier to do that once you get on the sewing machine. And you need to do this for all 4 sides. So all 4 sides, the top, the bottom, and the sides. You're going to hem them up. So when you're hemming this, I recommend that you do the top and then the bottom, and then fold over your side seams so that the corners are then covered. So I'm going to go do that real quick. If you have a serger and you have your serger set for a 1/4 inch seam, you can serge the edges first and then use that as your guide to then fold over and fold over again. And if you want to do it that way, you can do it that way. I do recommend, though, for anybody who doesn't have a serger, just to go and take your ruler and do 1/4 inch, then measure it and fold it and measure it and fold it. So your final product should be as close to 9 by 27 by the time you're done. Now I'm going to go do that, and I'll be right back. Now that I've got my strip and my hems are folded over, the edges are folded over, so the corners are done nice and neat. All the corners look like that. We're now going to flip it to our right side. Our right sides are going to be sewn together, and we need to label A, B, and C. And we're going to fold this into thirds. Now because we use the number 9 as our basis for our width and our length, we can fold this into 9 separate sections, right? Or 9-inch sections. So measure out 9 inches from your A, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then you can fold C, the edge of C, to meet up with that line, that 9-inch line, just like this. Okay, just like that. And what you're going to do, you're going to sew C to B right there. But to double check, we're going to pin that down real quick. just like that. So we know where to sew. But to double check to make sure everything evens out, we're also going to fold A over on top to meet up with that folded edge right there. It needs to meet up right there. Now if you look here on the inside, the fold right here needs to butt up to that edge right here. They need to meet just like this. So when you fold it over, this edge needs to be directly on top of this fold, and the edge on the inside needs to meet as close as possible to this fold here on the inside. And I can actually feel there's just a teeny weeny bit of distance as I run my finger up and down this fold. So what I'm going to do is take that out and just move it up a tad, just a smidge, like half of that distance. And then I'm going to pin it. Try it again. Okay, that's much better. Okay, so now that I've made sure my sections are actually in thirds, I've pinned this down and I'm going to sew down this seam right here. Now on this one, when I did my sewing, I sewed right here, right underneath that hemming. If you want to sew underneath that hemming, that's fine. It makes it nice and clean on the inside of the bag, which is awesome. But if you want to get closer to the edge, you can go through all that. If your machine can handle it, you can go through all those layers and get as close to the edge as possible if you want to. I'll probably do that this time around just to see how much difference it makes. So you're going to sew. So you have A, B, C, and you're sewing C on top of B right here, just like that. And you're going to do a stitching right here, backspace right here, and stitch all the way down to the bottom. And then we'll come back after I do that. Now that you've done your stitching, C on top of B, and you sewed that seam right here, we're actually going to flip it over. So now C and B are on the right side, A is on the left side. We're going to fold back this leaf right here, C, and we're going to fold A on top of B. So now you want to sew the same space, A on top of B, but you do not want this side in there. C needs to be folded back out of the way, but your corner here and your corner here needs to meet up. Okay, it should be about 9 inches, give or take a millimeter or two. You'll want to sew this seam right here, just like you did on this side. So, quick overview. A is on the left, B and C is on the right. We made a stitch here, C on top of B. Now we're flipping it over. We're moving C out of the way. We're moving C out of the way, and now we want A to lay on top of B to sew this line right here. So I'm going to stitch right here, put a pin in. Want to line it up, try to make it as nice and even as possible. Okay, so now we're going to stitch from here. So I need to finagle the corner a little bit because it is stitched up. We'll just fold it out of the way so that I can make the stitching all the way across with no problems. So we're going to go and get that stitched and make sure you have C out of the way. So if we're going to fold this all up nice, C should be folded out of the way. A needs to be on top of B, so it looks like this. It's a little wonky, little bubbly here. This is what you open it up to. So C's out of the way, A is on top of B, and we're going to stitch that line right here. If you want to start here, that's cool. Just stitch it all the way to the end. So remember, you want to keep everything in the square. If everything is shifted and it's not square anymore, then you've stitched something wonky and you don't want to do that. So make sure everything's in the square, or unless it's a triangle. Everything's in the square, 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 square. Anyways, stitch that line, and I'll be right back. Okay, so here's the bag. It's all folded up nice and neat into a square. We did our stitching. So there's our bag, all folded up nice and neat. We have stitching on this side, and we have stitching on this side. Now we're going to flip it right sides out. Right sides out here. We're going to take it and flip it inside out. Okay, and there we go. There's our bag. Our hemming's been done, our seams have been done, and our bag is all done. And here's where our tags are. So B ends up being the bottom, A and C ends up being the sides. So here I'm just going to take those off. And there we go. So now we have a cute little bag, just like this. Now, for this bag, you can do one thing to it. You can keep your corners like this. You can keep them flat if you want to keep it. It certainly makes it easier to fold if you keep your corners flat like this. So if you want to store it, put it out of the way until you need it again, or however you want to fold it. And it's up and it's out of the way until you need it for lunch or for, you know, whatever little bag, whatever you're going to use this for. I mean, it's super cute. You can put a skein of yarn in there and put your knitting and crochet in there if you're doing like granny squares or something. So it's a really cute little bag. You just fold it over at the top, just like the origami bento bag, the big one with the monkeys on it that I made earlier, just like that. Or this is the one that I boxed the corners in. So I did the same thing. I just boxed the corners so that now it'll stand up a little better if you put stuff in it. And there you go. You just hold it up like that. So it's totally dependent on what you want to do, whether you want to box the corners or not. I kind of like both ways. I mean, I don't know. I kind of like both ways. I think it might be a little easier just to have the box corners, but it's certainly convenient. You can stick a lot of stuff in there, and all you have to do is adjust your measurements. So it's whatever width you want times 3, and that gives you the length. And this is super simple, super easy. You can fill it with just about anything. I believe most Japanese use this as a bento bag, so they put their bentos in there, and this is their lunch carry-all to school or to work or whatever. It's super cute, and I really like it. And I hope you enjoyed the video. So did you guys enjoy the video? Were you able to understand how easy it was to make this smaller bag, to know that you can take one strip of fabric and turn it into a cute, adorable little bag? I think it's really awesome. And if you have strips of fabric, you can make these in any size whatsoever. All you have to do is make sure you have your measurements right. Remember, whatever the width is, 3 times 3 is the length. So if I have 9 inches wide, 9 times 3 is 27, so it would be 27 inches long. So you can make these in multiple sizes and use them in multiple ways. And just like my big monkey bag, having something huge like that is awesome as an overnight bag or diaper bag or whatever. And you can do it in so many different fabrics. You have all sorts, thousands of choices for accessories for what you wear and what you do in life. So as always, if you enjoyed the video, give me a thumbs up. As always, if you liked the video, give me a thumbs up. And, you know, throw some comments down there below. Let me know what you think about the tutorial and if there's anything else that you guys want me to do. And I will do my best. As always, also, links are always listed down there below. If you see something that I'm using that you want, the link is down below. And as always, I hope to see you in the next video.